Live.
Good night to the Belizean people at home and abroad. Welcome to this our 58th edition of Belizean Affairs. Tonight, sitting virtually with me as my virtual host is Mr. Roody and Mr. Leonard Brackett, the champion of the night. As you all know, every time we have our shows, we have a reading followed by a prayer. With that said, here we go to Mr. Wade for the reading.
Pleasant good night to our viewers, both at home and abroad. It's always a pleasure to be in your company, Leonard and Gregory, so that we again, bring truth to the nation and to our people and discuss the ills of the nation. And like you rightfully says, we speak truth. And before we start our show, we do a reading, and I will continue on Proverbs chapter 22, 1 to 10. Says, a good name is to be chosen rather than great riches, and favor is better than silver or gold. A rich and the rich and the poor meet together. The Lord is the maker of them all. The prudent sees danger and hides himself, but the simple goes on and suffer for it. The reward for humanity and fear of the Lord is riches and honor and life. Thorns and snares are in the way of the crooked. Whoever guards his soul will keep far from them. Trains up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. The rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is the slave of the lender. Whoever sows injustice will reap calamity, and the rod of his fury will fail. Whoever has a beautiful eyes will be blessed, for he shares his bread with the poor. Drive out a scoffer, and strife will go out, and quarreling and abuse will cease. That's my reading from Proverbs 22, 1 to 10. Thank you. Leonard?
Thank you for the reading,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Wade.
Thank you very much, Mr. Weir. Thank you, Greg. Just like to offer a short word of prayer, if you don't mind. Divine loving Father, as we come before thy presence once more, we pray that thou mayest hear our petitions on behalf of ourselves and our family members, our friends and loved ones, wherever they are, on behalf of our country of Belize, its people and leadership, as well as the rest of humanity. Please have mercy upon those people who are in harm's way and who are being hurt for no justifiable reason. Have mercy upon them, loving Father. Thou knowest our hearts, our desires, even our most secret thoughts. Please continue to abide with us. Please help us that we may present a program that may be of some positive benefits to our people and country. For we ask these mercies in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen, amen. Thank you for your prayer, Mr. Chairman.
If you are a true Belizean, let's have a safe and peaceful celebration. Long live Belize!
Good night. Good night.
Good night to the people at home and abroad. Again, tonight we bring you a 58th edition of Belizean Affairs, where we try to educate the Belizean people at home and those who are living in the diaspora. With that said, I will turn it over to our chairman so that he can open up the program with concerns and things that is affecting the Belizean people.
Thank you very much, Greg. My name is Leonard Brackett. I'm one of the panelists on the show, the Belizean Affairs show. As Greg said earlier, this is our 58th show for Friday, 27th of October, 2023. And I will be the chairman for tonight. I have some serious concern about what's going on in the country and how the country is being run with nefarious conduct on the part of those whom we have trusted with our governance power. And I would like to ask Greg if he can please assist me with playing our first clip for tonight.
We are not at all surprised that a court of law, once again in our country, has shown that you can get justice. The police were wrong from the get-go to charge all three persons and have them subjected to what they were subjected to. Having heard an experienced lawyer who is now a magistrate in the courts of this country go through the evidence, at the end of the day, Section 33 of the law is there in front of everybody, and foolishness but want appeal. What they are trying to say is that no police officer can have ammunition or gun or bulletproof vest. That the police make you sign out for the gun or not sign out, that is an internal matter. We are talking about a criminal charge that will land you in jail for a minimum of 5 years. They are two different things. I'm sorry that they don't pick that up. I'm sorry they don't pick that up. How many innocent people are facing charges when there is no crime that has been committed? There is a procedure. There is a procedure, according to a witness that came to court in this case, to say things which are not accurate in law. He can't give nobody permission to have firearms or equipment. He's merely... Yes, here we have in here. You hear when he not the armorer, he not the judge, he not the magistrate. The armorer is required to keep account. So much bullet gone to so much officers, so much kind of gun go to so much officers. That is internal, man. That have nothing to do with a criminal charge. You tell me that if you all are swallowing what you have just been told by the prosecution, it means right now, every officer that have a gun can be in trouble. Every officer that have bullet in their pocket can be in trouble. It can't mean that, man. What they have done in this matter is to charge people and put them through a whole rigmarole when they know that they're innocent from the beginning. If this matter had nothing to do with police, and anyone with the a vehicle belong to somebody else, where that person to drive it, and when he own up to driving it, and own up to have the ammunition, why will you go to jail and come to court fighting not to be sentenced to 5 years? That is wrong. That is the issue. Make we not distract ourselves. The issue is that 3 persons were charged because a plane landed with cocaine in southern Belize, and police officers were alleged to be involved. And this particular police officer is coming from a place where they check and know there was an activity, a christening or whatever it was down south. And they just maliciously rope in and can't... What? That is my response to your question here, that this was a malicious prosecution. And
part of Mr. Bradley's statement, I want to address the last part because that's a technical interpretation of the law, and it is for a judge to make those final rulings. And in this case, a judge ruled against the government and in favor of the defendant and Mr. Attorney Dickie Bradley. In terms of his presentation, he was more convincing to the judge as per the facts that was presented in the case. I want to go to the first part of his statement, like I said earlier. When he intimated that that matter should not have been brought to the court because it was supposed to be an internal matter for the police department, since they are the ones that have internal protocols and procedures and rules and regulations that govern the conduct of police officers. And they are the one that authorized the issuing of those weapons and bullets to various police officers. Even though when those police officers are off duty, the armorer is supposed to be able to receive back those guns from the officer, and the officer commanding leader should assure that those weapons and bullets were returned back to the armory. I think that's the context to which the discussion needs to be clarified. And as far as them catching the gentleman with a weapon and bullets, and then trying to rope in his wife and other people that were on the scene and charge them for the same gun and bullets in this instance, which was police issued. It wasn't a private gun. It wasn't his own gun that he had on himself, and he had an unlicensed gun with him. Therefore, he would not have been entitled to bullet. If he had a licensed gun of his own, he would have been entitled to have the bullets for it. But apparently, he not only just a licensed gun, but a police-issued gun, as well as police-issued bullets. So for all intents and purposes, that matter in the first instance should not have gone to the court, because there was no breach of the laws or the regulations under which he had possession of that weapon. Other than the fact that, yes, he may be using those weapons for double purposes. He could have been using it for nefarious purposes. That was not part of the case, even though there was nefarious attributions to the case itself. But that was not the grounds on which he was charged, or at least in this particular instance. We need to remember too that Mr. Bradley also brought up the point, and I will address that also when, as a matter of fact, let me address that. Because when the other clip comes up, we're going to address something similar, and I was planning to address that, both of them at the same time, but let me just leave that and address it quickly. The same law for possession of weapons and bullets or ammunition that was put in place by the legislators, or by the Belize House of Representatives and the Senate, or Congress basically, was an unconstitutional law to start with, even though they voted for it and it was assented to. And I keep repeating myself over and over and over. I don't know how many more times I might have to repeat myself compared to the amount of time that I've repeated myself in the past, that until somebody probably gets a hold of this process and do their job, because it is their responsibility to make proper law, and when those laws are found unconstitutional, for them to go back and revisit those laws, correct them, and adjust them to make them lawful and constitutional. They're not supposed to be using those same unconstitutional laws that are not lawful over and over and over, and going to court and losing cases over and over and over because they carry on the same misbehavior or misconduct in prosecuting people when they have no grounds for prosecution. They just go through the process because they're on salary, they're getting paid, and they're putting people and families through all kind of haranguing and all kind of wrong, bad experiences, expensive experiences to some people, both monetarily as well as to their character, as well as to the fact that they end up with a police record that should be expunged or should not have been there in the first place, just because of a ill-conceived and badly drafted, probably intentionally drafted like that, law. And whoever was doing the advice, legal advice, and the recommendation for that law was not acting constitutionally or acting in good faith. They were being arbitrary and capricious and deleterious because they are causing additional harm. And the harm they are causing is to innocent people. All because they refuse to write a proper law, which they are authorized to do, in order to solve the problems that they are attempting to solve. Then write their laws there to try and hamstrung the drug dealers them and the knuckleheads them when they run on, they hold up people and they kill and they do all kind of, to try and get them people in. But while they try to get them people in, which most times they're not prosecuting, even when they have them in remand, sometimes for long jail sentence, for long term before the case come up. And when the case come up, they say they can't prosecute them because they don't have the evidence, or the evidence lost, or somebody did something. The bottom line is that the system is set up where there's arbitrary and capricious misbehavior going on. And people are being taken advantage of just because the legislators can get together and decide that, okay, they want to make one law. And they're not checking to make sure that that law is within the bounds of the Constitution and not violative of people's rights. They just make the law and they put it out there. And if nobody can fight against the law, then the law just, hurt or agree with any and everybody else that has to come in contact with it. And then they empower the police officers them to go and break down people's door, break up their house, break up their cabinet, searching all over the place, tear down this, broke that, broke the other, vandalize the people in place. Sometimes they don't even find the weapons when they say and go look for it. But the police department no sends one contractor to the people in the house to repair what the officers then destroy. In the first place, they're not supposed to destroy nothing. They're supposed to go in there and act sensible. But because they know that they have what you call an immunity card as officers of the law, they act like scofflaws. They beat up people, broke up their place, and do all manner of evil against the people in. And then later on, like I said, they don't get disciplined for it. Nor does the police department send a contractor to go repair the people in place when they broke up, which should happen as a minimum. But then people don't have money for sue them. But when they go do that rich people house, they get sued, then people get their money. And that's the reason why they don't go do it at the rich people house and do it at the poor people house when they don't know how to sue them. But the point that I was trying to drive at initially, that Mr. Diki made reference to, is that law is on the book and it's affecting and has been affecting a whole lot of people. I could recall there was an instance where men, women, and children were taken out of a home. And they had nothing to do with the bullet, one bullet that was found in the home, I think, in that instance. Now, does not the police department have what you call discretion allowed to it? I'm asking as if it was a question, but it's not really a question. It's supposed to be a statement. Because when they're ready and when they want, they exercise that discretion within the bounds of the law. And when they're ready, like I said, they go on like criminals themselves. In fact, worse than some of the criminals, because they know how criminals are broken in your house and trash your place and broke up the thing and do all kind of stuff, and then, nothing come out of it. Even if they know who the police officer, like I remember one case where they got into this young lady house, the so-called search for whatever they want to search for, and steal the young lady money while the young lady wasn't at home. And when the young lady tried to make one case out of it, they try to intimidate her for making go forward with the case. They're a bunch of rogue individuals. And a good officer would not do that kind of stuff. And a good government would not, a good police department would not tolerate that kind of stuff from its officers. And a good minister of police would make sure that he is not supervising any such thing in his ministry, and make sure he put the foot down so that the commissioner put his foot down and that the commanders then put their foot down and that everything stays within the boundaries of at least a minimum of the constitutional requirements, that they're not actually going out there and taking under the color of law the powers of the state, brutalizing people and abusing people. But that law needs to be revisited and needs to be corrected. It's been on the book too long. It has harmed too many people. It was not ruled on before by any judge. In this instance, it was ruled upon. And I believe that the government should recognize that there's a problem there that needs to be rectified. You cannot be arbitrarily and capriciously roping in everybody in our home just because of a bullet or one gun or some bullets on some gun or whatever the case might be. That is anti-constitutional. That's like we read last week out of the Constitution, Section 6, which says that people must be treated equally under the law. So they need to do the investigation, figure out who the weapons or the bullets they belong to, charge that person, take them for prosecution, go to the judge, and see if they can win their case. You shouldn't have no police officer that go there and beat down people and turn around. And with the new law, when they want to bring in a place now, they turn around and accuse the person of resisting arrest and maybe saying something to the police officer that offended his feelings, or maybe trying to fight back to defend himself against the aggression of the police officers, and then get one extra charge for resisting or for having violated the new law when they want to bring in a place right now. That's craziness, but I'll leave that for right now. I'll go to Mr. Wade, and I know as a former officer, he might have something to say about that. Mr. Wade?
Thank you, Leonard. You're right in the way I know it should have happened now, and the way you see it. As a former member of the Police Special Force and former member of the Belize Defense Force, you have two scenarios. Whether as for what Dickie was saying, whether the Nagai was on leave or was he on active duty, right? Okay. As I know, you're on active duty and you're on a special assignment. You're on a special assignment, and a situation arose that section has to go on a special mission. You line up in front of the armory, and the armorer issue your weapon. Okay, you go on your assignment or your whatever the mission is. Finish, come back, you hand in your weapon. The armorer should make sure that each weapon is returned back to the armory, and if not, it's his responsibility to report if any other weapon did not return. Now, if Mr. Na was on leave now, he has no business carrying that kind of weapon.
Police should.
And that ammunition. No business at all if he was on leave. Now, what happened there, if he was on leave, his superior officer, whether it's Tom, Dick, or Harry, is his superior, he or she should have made sure that the Nagai hand in his weapon. Fail. He went on a tribunal and they found him not guilty, right? There's a reason why they find him not guilty, because higher up was responsible and they didn't want to bring that out. So that matter shouldn't have went criminally in the first place.
Exactly.
Right? Now, as far as Mr. Musa, you hear him, and Dickie, they're two different versions. Musa said, well, somebody you have to own up. If they search a vehicle and no one owns up responsibility of the weapon and they have a right to arrest them and to find out who will be the culprit. Now Dickie says, here you have Someone owned up, took responsibility. So why did the police waste the court time, waste everybody time, waste the taxpayers' money, and charge other people? Like, for instance, the young
Misinterpretation of
lady,
the law.
right?
Misinterpretation and misapplication of the
That
law.
is totally not right. Like you says, you know what they do to who and what to who, when, and where, right? And they get away with it. Now look what that lady had was to subject herself to. That's what Dickie was saying. And he was saying they do that to poor people. They do that to regular Billy, which is not right.
Over and over and over.
Over and over. And then you hear the Musa guy, which Greg will clear up what he said, right? Two different tongue, and like he's saying, well, Dickie don't know what he's talking about, right? and he that's in so many. I'm not saying that's what he said.
I got something for him tonight, Mr. Wade.
Like I say, he speaks with two tongues, and I've said it before, right? It's a shame to see that people on a daily basis, like he said, you know, Dickie has a right to say what he said because people have been dragged into court and you know all the other things he mentioned about that is wrong, right? But my point is that look at what the system does to people, right? Innocently, right? That's my thing. Look what that lady had was to subject herself to, right? Look what the police force, because it starts with them in charging, look what they subject the courts to, subject, you know, the entire system, the tax burden, the taxpayers, right? Which, you know, what are these guys thinking, man, right? So my thing is that, you know, the whole breakdown is that a senior officer should have been charged too for failing to have Mr. Na hand in his weapon if he was on leave. And again, he failed to hand in his weapon if he was on official duty, right? After that mission has concluded, he should have handed in his weapon, unless if there are other special arrangement for him.
Mr. Wade, on that point, before we go forward, could I interject quickly something that is technically important? We want to be fair to the general public that are listening to our program, and therefore we are talking directly to the issue. But there are small little technical things that we need to clarify for the public's comprehension of what is it that we are discussing. Mr. Na was assigned to Mr. Vidal's team. Mr. Vidal was second in command to the commissioner. He's an assistant or deputy commissioner, so to speak. He has powers given to him, vested in him by the commissioner through the Ministry of Home Affairs for them to relate to issues that are not only locally to Belize, but are of external importance to other powers to be. They get foreign training, they get foreign support for that particular unit, and that unit is on a 24/7 type mode of operation. In other words, they can be called up just about any second to just arbitrarily and capriciously be on the move. So I am speculating now. I'm saying this clearly because I don't want to be misunderstood, or I don't want nobody to say, well, because I said I knew what I was saying. I'm not sure that that what I'm about to say is correct, but I'm speculating because I know how the procedures for those type of operation units are structured. In other words, they have a lot more leeway in violating and or acting differently than the regular police officers because of the assignment that they have. They can be called upon just about any minute to go on a special, quick emergency track down of a drug plane or of a this or that or whatever. They cannot have the time available to them to be called from home or from wherever if they are not on 27 on 24/7 duty, for them to reach from where they are at to the armory to pick up their weapons and whatever it's not. So somewhere in there may have been some allowance made for him and the individuals in that particular unit, because they were given powers above the regular police department's mode of operation. In other words, Mr. Vidal was given command from north to south, east to west of the whole country, not even inside of all the different jurisdiction and branches of the different departments for him to operate. Because, like I said, he's operating on not only national interest, but international interest. The DEA helps to fund, train, and provide the wherewithal of these particular units to support them in the country of operation. So within the context of what I just described just now, people have to understand that, yes, the procedures require that they turn in weapons, or this, or that, but that's for the regular officers. And these units are given extra, leeway because of the type of functions. But that should not, okay, while that may be the case or may not be the case, the bottom line is that the law itself that they voted in Congress and put on the book, where they have victimized a lot of Belizean, poorer class Belizean who never had a lawyer available to them, as Mr. Vidal had in this instance, that this law, because the Congress passed it and it was put into the Constitution, it has teeth, and it's been biting and chewing up a lot of people and destroying a lot of individuals. And it so happened that it touched somebody in high place in this case. So it went to court and it was ruled upon, and it was pointed out that the law is unconstitutional. You cannot arbitrarily and capriciously, as a police department, just arrest people because the law says that if they have one bullet, they should be arrested. The law needs to be corrected so that the police are not misinterpreting and misapplying the law, because that law is bogus law. They are only trying to do their duty according to them. But it's just like, for example, if a person is given an illegal order and they carry out that illegal order, it doesn't stop them from being guilty of having committed a crime or an illegality. You understand, Mr. Wade? I'm trying to speak to you in specific in this case, because I know that you was an officer both in the regular police as well as the BDF, as you have always told us. But I'm just trying to point out to you that even beyond those two entities, this particular unit, the powers vested in it, that even the commissioner himself did not question anything that Mr. Vidal would do, or any of the other commanders did not have any overriding authority to stop him from operating any which way he wanted that served his particular unit's objective, from north to south, east to west. But he was supposed to be accountable to his superior, which was the commissioner. And if something was wrong there, the commissioner needed to be attentive to it or on top of it and deal with it. But I think, as regards to the bigger picture of the whole thing that he was accused of, other than just about the bullets, there are bigger people up above whom they didn't want this thing to touch, and therefore they squashed the stuff internally at the police internal review, and that's where it should have stayed. How it got to the court, I don't know, other than the fact that because the law stipulates that if you have the gun or have the bullet and they classify it as an illegal possession, you have to go to court. Or you should have been in jail, as a matter of fact, because a lot of people, they didn't get to go to court and they spend so much time in jail just because they had the bullet or they had the gun. Or maybe they find it in an property, like we were saying before. Please, I'm sorry for overbearing on that point, but I just need to clarify that technicality, because it's something that they could hide behind as a defense, other than what the judge said, which was totally correct, that the law was incorrect and it could not do that. Therefore, the legislator have to go back and redo that law and does it right. It should have been done right in the first place. Sorry about taking your time. You will take back part of my time to finish up your thoughts, sir.
No, I'll pass it. No, it's just I just said that, and like I say, there is a serious breakdown, and that particular item shouldn't have ended up in the court and wasted the taxpayers, and like I said, for me, the real the other culprit that should have been along with him in court did not go because that's his superior, right? As far as that tribunal is concerned, they knew why, because he went that way, in every which way.
His superior knows too much things about powerful people in the country, and therefore they can't afford for him to go up and stand go testify or we get to ask question. We have to recognize and
So,
remember these issues.
so like I say, I pointed out whether he was on leave or there's two different issues there,
Mhm.
whether he was on leave or on active duty, right? And I'm just talking on of on what I know, right? Um, but like I say, these people do things and they get away with it. So I can't see how an individual could, for whoever it is, could have in his home, you know, this kind of weapon, right? If it's not necessary, right? Um, you should use these weapon and return it back. Other smaller arm is different, right? But when you have these kinds of,
High
there's a
power.
procedure. There's a procedure. And like I say, you go to the armory, you sign your weapon out, you go on your mission, and you return those weapons back, right? So how he has these weapons, that's a matter for them, and they know exactly what they were doing, and maybe that will come out later on, right?
Well, the power
But
that are vested in them allows them to become power drunk and rogue.
yes,
And that is the
yeah,
problem that we have to deal with
yes.
as a
Like
reality.
I say, I cannot see how in the world that these people could be driving around with these kind of weapon and these kind of ammunition on their person
And then
if
feel
they
the
are
need.
not on any if they are not on any official business.
Yes, sir. Uh,
Worse, if they are on leave.
Greg,
So
thank you very much, Mr.
yes.
Weird. Greg, would you have something to contribute to that first part, or you want to play the second thing before you add your comment?
I, I thank you guys for your expressive dissecting of what you believe happened. But while that might be so, I will not look at it that way. What I will say is the draconian gun law needs to
Needs to
be
change.
amended. Period.
Amen to that.
Because
Bottom line,
you
no tweak
cannot
bills.
be having a gun law that you are using under enterprise. Because that
And when it's hurting
enterprise
people get
section
hit.
is what makes you are taking everybody that is within a car or a house, you know. Plus, Section 33 of the
Uh,
Firearm Act, I will tell you exactly what it says before I go to the next clip. And I will do this very quickly.
Greg, it was good that you mentioned it was
Yes.
33 of the Firearms Act because I was looking at
Do you have
33
it
in the
available?
no. I was looking at 33 in the Constitution, Section 33, and it's a completely different issue or point. So it's a good thing you mentioned it's the Firearm Act
Right.
that you're making the reference to, and not the Constitution itself. We got to be careful when we just can't make the sentence or statement and leave it
No,
out there hanging because the people don't
Section
understand what I said.
33, Section 33 of the Firearm Act reads as this. This act shall not apply to any person in the naval, military, air, or volunteer force of Her Majesty, or in the police department, or in the prison or revenue service of Belize, keeping, carrying, or using any firearm or any ammunition in the performance of his duty or when engaged in his target practice or going to or returning from any
Ram.
place for such purpose. So what
So on
that
that,
is simply saying that these guys can carry their stuff when they are on duty. When they are coming off duty, they are allowed to do that. And depend on the branch you are working in, some police officers is allowed to carry heavier caliber gun and more ammunition.
Mhm.
Now, when we heard Mr. Bradley spoke about internal affairs and tribunal, it was the police department who messed up, who tried to charge one of their own criminally as though he was a regular citizen that was caught in the act of illegal firearm and ammunition.
And that
But
is after they had already investigating him internally. He had already been to the internal and was
right,
found. So there was no
they
reason to
should
go to the
have
next
dropped
stage.
it.
Exactly.
They should have dropped it from the time they took him to
Mhm.
a tribunal and he was found not guilty. They should not have proceeded with a criminal charge because I can tell you this personally. I have seen where police sergeants deliver guns to policemen working on the street in public, not from an army. They
Mhm.
transport it in the police van to the policeman doing the street patrol. And I believe that is exactly why the kid was expressing it that way. But let me go to this clip
Say
so
that
you
again.
can hear what Mr. Musa had to say about that.
The defense counsel in this particular case, Mr. Bradley, who I have great respect for, oftentimes has to be walking a tightrope and has to strike a balance. And sometimes he may fall on the side, one side more than the other, because in that very same interview, I'm certain he mentioned that so many Belizeans go through this very same experience on a daily basis, whereby they're sitting in a motor vehicle or inside a house but have no connection to the ammunition, but because of our laws, everyone inside that motor vehicle or inside that house is charged. So is he saying that we're now to carve out a special law for police officers and their wives? Is he saying that? Or is he saying that all Belizeans likewise, this law affects everybody, not just Miss Callis? This law affects everybody.
But the magistrate did say that merely being in a place does not constitute possession.
But you have to prove that you're not in possession, because that onus then falls on you as an accused person being in a motor vehicle or being inside a house where no one is taking responsibility for the ammunition. Nobody has said that it is theirs. The onus then falls on you to defend, to show that you do not have a particular connection. And so, like Mr. Bradley oftentimes points out, this happens on a daily basis where criminals don't want to accept liability, and so everybody in the house is rounded up. And so it's not, I don't know if he's saying we need to carve out special legislation for them.
No. Thank you very much, Greg, for keying up that one. Specifically speaking, young Mr. Musa appeared to not either understand or know what he's talking about. Remember now, the operative word there is appear. To not understand or know what he's talking about. But I won't give him the benefit of the doubt. I will state it the way I believe it actually is in his mind. That is that his mindset is one that is trying to conflate the facts, the reality, with an imaginary thought, an idea circling in his own head. The reality is that we have this law on the book, as Mr. Bradley is stipulating, and the reality is that this law is affecting people adversely or wrongfully. And the reality should be, if Mr. Musa understood his assignment correctly, as a lawyer, first of all, and secondly, as the Minister of Police, Home Affairs, he would say, okay, the law is inappropriate as is stipulated, rather than thinking that Mr. Bradley is trying to say that they have to make or cut out one special part of the law only for certain people. That's not what Mr. Bradley is talking about. Mr. Bradley is talking directly to the fact. The law is unconstitutional, the judge rules as such, and the law should have been dealt with and corrected. They don't have to create no special part with no special people like when he always try to do. They always come up with the idea that they want special law for special people, and we'll deal with that in our next clippings coming up. Because these jackals are constantly telling on themselves. They're constantly exposing who and what they're about, while trying to play cute and double talk, and even in some instances triple talk. Because, like I said, I'm not giving him the benefit of the doubt that maybe he don't really understand or know where they talk about, because I know that the gentleman, I know that the gentleman knows what he's talking about, and I would more want to believe that he's just bamboozling people who are hearing what is coming out of his mouth, because the gentleman is very educated, very smart, and quick on his feet. So the fact that he's going to make that kind of misstatement there, or arbitrary and capricious statement like that, tells me that he has a deliberate intent of maliciousness behind his thoughts. He knows too much, he's too smart, he's too good at what he does. He has an experienced lawyer for a father, and he's been around legal matters for almost a whole generation, almost a whole life. Okay? But he wants to come now and power play the process and bullyrag the process, which is what I'm thinking that he's attempting to do, rather than not knowing that he's doing something wrong or that he doesn't understand his assignment. He understands his assignment. His assignment is to bullyrag and to bullcrap people and to bamboozle people on behalf of an objective of trying to let people believe that whatever they say is the law of the land, even when it's contrary to the constitution of the country. What they say as ministers and as government officials and as members of the cabinet and as members of the house overrides the constitution and the law of the land and and everything else. And that is the problem that they have. They have a certain mindset that is screwed up. Then they want to turn around, and when people criticize them for their messed up mindset, they want to talk about, oh, if somebody offend me or says something wrong about me or derogate or speak ill to my character or libel me or this or that or the other, I want to go suffer some more consequences than what they would normally suffer. I want to get the full extras. Another 3 extra years on top of what them if you get. Why? According to him, he says so, or he thinks that that's the right thing to do. That's contrary to the Constitution that they don't have any respect for. But the gentleman is going to say, in addition to what he stipulated, he's also conveying the idea that the key one cut out one special part of the law only for certain people. Mr. Dickey is saying that the law is being applied to everybody, including Mr. Na as a police officer. And the judge is telling, according to the judge who ruled on the case, that that's incorrect. That's a misuse, misapplication, and misinterpretation of the law. A law that is unconstitutional in the first place. But even if it was constitutional,
Let me
applied.
Let me give you a hand here so you can understand exactly what is happening. What Mr. Bradley is saying, that because Mr. Nat is a police officer, and they have Section 33 of the Firearm Act, and he falls under the internal affairs of the police department, which is duty.
Procedures as
You
well.
cannot apply the gun law to him as a citizen, as though he was just riding in a car and violated the gun law. It's
Hmm.
two different things. You cannot take from his work and then try to criminalize it once he had already found by tribunal
Hmm.
not guilty. And even with that said, as I said before, you have a lot of learned and educated people. And not because you're educated it means you can run a country or you know the law. Because what Mr. Musa is applying is unconstitutional. It violates one's constitutional right to
Hmm.
say that you are guilty and you have to prove your
That's
innocence. The
crazy.
Constitution says
Outrightly crazy.
everybody is innocent
Until
until
proven guilty
proven guilty.
or
Let me hear
self-declared
you on
guilty.
that, Mr. Wade.
Well, that's that's exactly what it is. You know, he for me, I says the gentleman speaks with two tongue. Uh,
I don't know.
like Leonard rightfully says, his opinion of how he do things and what he thinks, and I am right with you, Leonard, because all of a sudden now these guys do and say nothing wrong. Everything they do is right and everything they say is right. They are. I see their mission is to categorize people, and I'll just say this simple as this that you're not going surprise me when they make one law very soon. Not surprise me that this bus here that for black people, this bus here that for one ethnic group, right? And that building there, the black people have to go through that door, right? And this door here, the other ethnic groups will go through, right?
Mr. Wade, you have offices in Belize that's happening right now, sir. Offices, not government building, private building.
So
Happening right now as we're
you
speaking.
hear a minister says that we need a new identity, right? And at least we speak about, right? And people could take that any kind of way and think that they're just a joke or thing, because they have an agenda,
Hmm.
they have an assignment, they have an agenda, and if it's collaborative, they will push through their agenda. And I tell you, Belizean, at the end of the day, before the
Wake up,
next general election,
wake
you're left
up,
with the mouth open. I say,
wake up.
wow, this the wedding guys me want to do it. We all along. But I'm hear it, but I never believe it. I'm hear the big guys for Belizean Affairs show mention it, I never believe them guys, man. Now look what happened. Too late then. Too late. These guys here, my people at home and abroad, has a very serious agenda. It's about power, greed, ultimate power. And they will stop at nothing to achieve that power. I'll say no more on that. Go
Mr.
ahead.
Thank you very
Wade,
much, Mr. Wade. Greg, just a second. One quick. Talking about power, the Prime Minister has gotten the support of enough of his cabinet now that he can actually exercise his power that we vested in him. Well, it's not his power. Let me take that back. Our power that we vested in him for him to bring about his baby. Remember the dead horse where he said, well, you want me to stop flag? He tear up the thing in the place and he come out and he say, that matter is done and over with. I don't want to hear no more about it. No ask me no more question about the lawyers them and which lawyer and say what and no ask me about the papers them with the lawyers then give me. The man has already suborned enough of his colleagues that was against him in the first instance for him to now go ahead and bring that stuff back to cabinet with some minor changes here and there. But thank you very much, Greg. Sorry about that. Please proceed.
What I was about to say, guys, to the people at home and abroad, the present government and these ministers are acting with double standards. He just called out Mr. Bradley to say and ask the question if the kid wants him to carve out special law for policemen and their wives. Now, let me show you the double standard that these people have. I want the people at home and abroad
Real
to hear it
I tell you.
for themselves. How
These are people that we elect.
He is carving out laws.
Later on, Greg. Later on. Like thick honey.
We have seen across the world where there are attacks and threats being made against various public officers and personalities in the media. In some countries, journalists are even killed. And we have recognized that there is a sort of imbalance in the legislation. Those individuals who are very public individuals and who are oftentimes targeted are not protected under the legislation. If an assault happens, it is considered to be a common assault, which the penalty is very low. And so we recognize the importance of protecting these individuals because they have certainly a high presence in society, and it is necessary that they are offered at least the protection of an aggravated assault charge.
Was he not telling on himself?
No,
right?
Tell me, isn't that double standard? Isn't he carving out laws to suit certain individuals?
Same thing he accuses DK about.
Right? Using the public doing it. Using the public doing it. Just like what they will use the public for to turn Belize into a republic.
That is unconstitutional because under Section 6.1, the same law should go for everybody. You cannot classify people
I was just about to read it
in a higher category. You know?
Make I read it,
in
Greg.
a higher category.
Greg, make I read it.
Go
I was
ahead,
just
sir.
about to read it. Since you quoted it or cited it, might as well go ahead and read it. Uh-oh, it's too big.
Sad.
A little smaller.
Real sad.
Okay. Section 6.1. That is the Constitution of Belize, Cap 4, Part 2, Section 6. Section 6.1 and 2. 6.1 reads as follows. All persons, not just the ones that he's trying to make a law for or that he's saying that Dicky wants him to make a law for, all persons are equal before the law and are entitled without any discrimination to the equal protection of the law. Section 2, not Section 2, subsection 2, if any person is charged with a criminal offense, then unless the charge is withdrawn, the case shall be afforded a fair hearing within a reasonable time by an independent and impartial court established by law. So
There you
Now,
go.
the gentleman, wait, just a
me-
minute. The gentleman, just a minute, Greg. The gentleman, Mr. Karim Musa, either forgot his law classes or maybe never attended all of them and missed out parts of where he's supposed to learn, and as a result appears or is coming off or trying to pretend that he's unaware of these constitutional requirements or legal processes. But for as long as he's been around the law practice form of his father, even if he may left it in a school where he's supposed to learn, I'm definitely sure he should have learned it while being around his father, because his father was a preeminent lawyer himself. And they had other top lawyers such as Mr. Flowers and Mr. Ramos and a lot of other people. I mean, they were solid people, okay? So I refuse. That's why initially earlier when I was saying, I don't think the gentleman no know what he talk about, even though he try to come off as if he don't know. Because if he really know, unless he try to play the fool, he should have said exactly what this thing say, or where I just read. Because he's a lawyer for so many years and he has the experience and the knowledge. In fact, he has the basic sensibility to recognize that what he's saying didn't comport with the facts. So why state that I don't have to try and bamboozle or take people for fool? That just because he said, and he's a renowned person, he's also a minister with
Show the
power.
nation, Greg,
Come on.
what he really
okay,
what he
okay,
really
hold
want to,
on.
yeah, what he really want
Hold on,
to,
Mr. Wade.
yeah.
Now, what Mr. Bradley was saying, and rightfully so, because of the gross violation and bastardization of the Constitution, that is why Mr. Bradley was speaking about what is happening. Mr. Brackett, can you go to section 19 of the Constitution? Because what the key was saying is you cannot discriminate against some people, because that is discrimination and it needs to stop. You are favoring some people over other people. And let me hear you on that while Mr. Brackett is looking for section
I
19.
have it right here close by. It's not right here already. I got it. Anyhow, go ahead.
Go ahead, Leonard. Go ahead.
Okay. I'll read and then I'll turn it over to you. Then I'll just take a quick move. No, I'll just read it quickly. Give me a second. I think it's too large. Okay, there you go. Section 19.1. When a person is detained by virtue of a law that authorizes the taking during a period of public emergency of measures that are reasonably, remember that word, please. Always remember that word, reasonable. Okay? When they talk about SOEs, reasonable. Not just an SOE because they say they want to make one, but reasonable. That's one single word. Reasonably justifiable for the purposes of dealing with the situation or emergency that exists in Belize during that period. The following provisions shall apply. That is to say, paragraph A, he shall with reasonable promptitude and in any case not more than 7 days after the commencement of his detention be informed in a language that he understands of the grounds upon which he is detained and furnished with a written statement in English specifying the particular of those grounds. So when they hold a young man for 30 days, then they violate their constitutional rights. They're acting as scofflaws and they broke the law. That's why I was
No.
last show that we did on that particular issue with the SOE, when I pointed out to Mr. Musa and the commissioner that they need to go and do their job and let the young man loose, because they don't violate the thing beyond the 7 years. They may try to go for 30 days. And I pointed out
But
someone could end up to go to Hague.
the reason why
Can't play the
I
fool.
ask you to read that
Yes, sir.
is because pertaining to what Mr. Bradley was saying. The police can't come pick you up or pick up 5 away because they find a bullet, and that one bullet belonged to 5 away, and one whole 5 away without doing more investigation before they hold you. It's
Mr. Wade,
illegal.
keeping after
It's
Greg. No,
illegal
It's okay.
detention.
Sure.
Okay? And that is what we were speaking about. So let me hear you on the matter before we go to the clip when Leonard is back.
You know, like I say, you know, the guy talks with two tongue, Greg, right? You know, we will not beat that anymore because it's plain to be seen and heard. You know, of course, you know, other people will have other opinion, you know, but my point is that you see, Greg, that how they use the public and how they use people to achieve their agenda, right? You see how they use, well, the Musa guy, the Minister Musa, the police minister in particular, right? He speaking to an audience and he says, and he point out certain people that need that extra protection, but he failed to say the real reason why he's doing that. He failed, and you'll show the real reason, right? Is to protect politicians, protect ministers, right? From people like us who speaks out on issues and call them out. That law he's passing is coming after us, trying to say, well, you know, you can't say that, right? You're going to jail for 5 years if you say that, right? Because we need that extra protection. Extra protection. Like I says, the next move, you're going to see what they're going to do to us after this, right? No, believe me, it's already here. We are seeing it. So play that clip, Greg, and
Mr. Wade,
to
the
see the
new
real reason why.
defamatory law that he's speaking about. Let me run it at the bottom. I want you to read it first, and I will run it at the bottom.
Go ahead, Leonard. Read the new defamatory law. They're gonna pass it, you know. Who's gonna stop
Summary
them?
Jurisdiction Offenses Amendment Bill of 2023. Arrangements of clauses as follows. Clause 1, short title. Clause 2, amendment of Section 4. And Clause 3, introduction of new Section 4A. So in other words, to do what they are attempting to do, they're amending Section 4, and they're also including a 4A. But let's get to what they're really after. A bill for an act, which means that they're changing the Constitution. Anytime you hear and have a bill for an act, It's a change of the constitution thereafter. Now, remember, they have a PCC in motion right now, and according to the Prime Minister, everything that they're thinking about in terms of law, because Australia wanted to change the referendum law, and any other things that the government needs to be doing as regards to law, they have already deferred their governance law-making powers to the Constitution, People's Constitution Commission. Isn't that what the Prime Minister intimated in his own words? That's why he could not follow the existing law, the existing constitution and laws on the book. I don't hear nobody agreeing with me. It sounds like nobody remember that may happen. The man passed one and we know so fast that we never even get to smell it. Huh? But that's a whole thing Belizean rule.
Like every other.
So let me read the act. Let me read the act then, right? Bill for an act to amend the summary jurisdiction offenses. Act Chapter 98 of the Substantive Laws of Belize, revised edition of 2020, to upgrade the use of threatening words, such as what we carry on when we're on this show. According to them, we threaten them. Because we expose them and we speak to the public and inform the public about what kind of dastardly conduct they're carrying on with.
Yeah.
And violation of our constitution and violation of people's constitutional rights.
They don't want we
they don't
spill
want
the beans,
to be put
right?
on the spot about that.
Yeah, they don't want we spill the bean. We forget.
So if we make any statement that
see there,
any offended about,
threaten, abusive, perform,
they want to collect you, Mr. Wade or Greg,
insulting words,
or maybe they want to ask my extradition to be, because it will be constituted as a felony. 3 years, anything above 12 months or 1 year is supposed to be constituted as a felony, right? So then they ask for you 3 years now. So then they make you a felon, which means you can't travel, which means you don't have a police record, and you can't, they're in a politics, anything beyond 12 months. You see, all these things, they add up, you know. Then they know exactly what they head for. Autocratic rule, they want to be the ones to run the country forever. They're not stupid, you know. Like I said earlier, young are not stupid.
See, I hope they're reading everything else, right.
But I also hope that they listen to everything what they say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And more than just listen to what they say, I really wish they would have act on some of it with good will and good faith towards the people and country. Because then we would be having better governance. Then we wouldn't have to be advocating what we advocate and say what we say, and they wouldn't have to be feeling offended. It's too damn thin skin for be politicians. That's another subject for a different day.
Official. An elected official.
The man then thin skin, man. The man their skin, you know, they're like balloons. You know, like when you broke them.
They left the elected official for the last, you know, Greg. And Leonard, that are the last item.
Make a finish read it. Make a finish read it. Not too long. Greg, the part where I want to finish read not too long, and then I'll finish the rest afterwards when you're making a comment.
Just read right the top while at the floor. I want you to say where it says private. You see where it says private?
That's down at the bottom. That's a little farther down. I'll get there right now. Give me a chance to make a stop.
Okay, go ahead.
To upgrade the use of threatening words or behavior from a petty offense to a serious offense, and to provide for manners connected therewith or incidental thereto. In other words, they want to turn a simple crime into a felony and a major crime. In other words, then they try to protect their oneself.
Now for channel.
Then they do wrong, and we know we're supposed to complain about the wrong what they do. Because if we complain, somebody might take it upon themselves to go do them some harm. So they want to say, well, like, this bunch of hyenas, man, anyhow. Be it enacted, therefore, by and with the advice and consent of the House of Representatives and the Senate of Belize, and by the authority of the same, as follows. This act may be called as the Summary Jurisdiction Offences Amendment Act of 2023, and shall be read and continued as one with the Summary Jurisdiction Offences Act, which is hereinafter referred to as the Principal Act. But the Principal Act is going to get amended by when they try to put in here. Okay. Number 2, the Principal Act is amended in Section 4 by replacing the paragraph number 11, stating an amendment of Section 4. And also, number 3, it says insertion of new 4A. And the number 1 is under this, which is misplaced as well. So the person that was doing the drafting and the person that was doing the correction and or supervision of the work should have taken care of cleaning up these matters here before publishing the stuff, but then publish it and show how they don't know the elbow from the butt. They allow one simple thing like this to get past them, in other words. So number 3 says the Principal Act is amended by inserting immediately after Section 4 the following Section 4A, which reads as follows. Use of threatening words or behavior, etc. So if we make negative comment against them, it will constitute, according to them, as threatening words. 4A says or reads as follows. A person who uses any threatening, abusive, profane, obscene, incident or insulting words or behavior, whether calculated to lead to a breach of the peace or not, such several offense being committed in a street or public place or in a private place, private enclosure or ground, whether directly or within hearing of any of these individuals, a person acting as a judicial and legal officer or as a peace officer. That's number 1. Number 2, a member of the Belize Defense Force in the course of duty or while they're on duty. Or normally it should also say while coming from or going to their place of work or duty. Number 3, a member of Belize Coast Guard in the course of duty, which should also imply going to or coming from or while being on duty. See, they not write the thing properly, right? They not structure the drafting correctly, but it is to be understood generally for legal people who are reading these things, but for the average person, the 98% people when they open a constitution and read or know what's going on, they don't really connect. Number 4, an immigration officer in the course of duty. Number 5, a customs officer in the course of duty. Number 6, a member of the National Fire Service in the course of duty. Number 7, a public officer in the course of duty. Number 8, a prison officer in the course of duty, which means that some of them prisoners, they might end up getting additional charges while being back at prison. Okay, so they'll take longer to come out. By virtue
More
of
money
this
for Kobe.
changes.
More money for Kobe.
No, basically what they're talking about is that all the black people when they collect and carry to jail for whatever offense or perceived offense, even if they're guilty or not, while being in jail, they could end up to get some serious jail time. So I think I mentioned in our last show that Batista had most of the black people in Cuba in a jail, and used them to cut cane and run the sugar mill. That's what he just tried to try come up with, right? Then go to Cuba and latch, and then learn the Cuban history, and then try to
Continue read to the end of this, please.
on Detroit. No, I was just enlarging so I could see it because it kind of disappeared while I was talking. A prison officer in the course of duty, a teacher in the course of duty, a member of the media in the course of duty, or an elected official. That's number 11.
That's it.
And that was the last one.
That was.
That's
they
the one they really want to make the law
yeah.
about, about themselves.
Exactly.
But then they throw in all these other people to say, well, okay, those people will be in favor of it because then they will be protected by it, according to them, which is not true. Any law that the government makes is null and void if it doesn't comport with the constitutional requirements, and if it derogates anybody's right in favor of somebody else's right. All persons are equal under the law. Remember what we just read earlier and last week? We're trying to give the general public this constitutional education information, which the government should be doing right now as part of the education campaign and constitutional education campaign. Which one of them say they do what we do? Then should I do more of it because in time they run out? They started 8 months late. So then should I speed up now? When in fact, then very seldom they have any more meetings anymore. The whole process is designed to fail. All what they want to do, right here. Then could I left this to make the Constitutional Reform Commission add this in and what they try modernize. But then when the whole school go try pass this. They don't wait till the Constitution Commission finish like what they say what other things. Then go to the house last meeting and change things. Before that, then we go and change other thing. And then keep going to the house to go change things. If you go get money.
Let me say something here, if I may, right? Because I don't want to stray away from this bill. It is very important. There's 2 pieces in there that we must speak about. A part of the bill is saying that if you violate any of these that they are saying, even if it's in a private enclosure or ground, that is saying, Mr. Wade, and to you all, the people at home and abroad, if you are in your private home with your windows and your doors closed, and a policeman is passing by, and he hears you say something about the Prime Minister or one of this elected official, they can arrest you and you can go to jail for 3 years.
Take it a little further, Greg. Taking it a little further. They want to arrest anybody that's on the public airwave, that they can have a record of anybody saying anything that offends their feeling. Anything that bursts in skin.
Even beyond that, why I am saying this? Because this bill right here is in violation of the Constitution.
Yeah.
And I will have you read that right now if you have it there. I send it to you. In fact, let me say it, and I have it right there.
Before I read it, can I just finish the last statement, or that is so we could close this off?
Right.
After it says, number 11, and elected officials referring to themselves as politicians, which is all they needed or wanted was to have said in the first place. They never had to add all the other persons. They could have just make one general category, and probably could have still pass constitutional muster. But because they segmentize and classify specifically these particular groups or entities, it becomes unconstitutional, null and void. So then going to the house can make another law that another judge will rule as null and void. And they keep doing this kind of craziness over and over and over.
No,
That is
it's
that if they commit,
inconsistent.
if a person commit
It
an
is
offense, just a minute, Greg. If a person commit any such offense as referred to above, and that person is liable on summary conviction to imprisonment for 3 years. So if you offend one minister, and the minister could go to court and tell the judge that he felt offended about whatever it is that you said or did or whatever, the fact that he makes the allegation and his word is going to be better than yours, he might have a lie, you might not have one. And at the end of the day, you can get sent back for 3 years. And that 3 years will cost you more years, as I said earlier. Because most prisoners who go to prison end up with some kind of beef with somebody else in a prison or with the prison warders them. Or for whatever reason, if they are a political individual or entity, they are being sat on by the prison warders them, or their lives are being made hard by the prison warders them. And with these new things, prison water is part of the thing too. You could go to prison and cause an argument with a prison water, or get vexed with a prison water for whatever reason. And he could add another 3 years to your life back at jail. He could carry that court and say to the judge, Your Honor, this person was in prison and disrespected me.
Let me kind of, if you may, let me
Go ahead,
kind of
go ahead,
break
sir.
this
Go ahead.
down for the people at home and abroad. This bill is unconstitutional because it violates your constitutional right of freedom of expression. That
Freedom of
right
speech.
gives you the right to your opinion, to
Let me just-
associate and to
Let
talk.
me just say
That
this
gives
real quick,
you the right
Emma
to
Cadle,
say
guys.
what you want.
Emma Cadle is watching with you, and Rubina Ford says good night. Emma Cadle say hi, everyone. Andre Torres, shouldn't they also have a referendum before making changes to the Constitution? Right?
Well, that's why they're going right now with the changes that they're trying to do through the House, because currently they are entitled to make changes. The idea of the referendum with the Constitution is just to try and supersede some things that they can't do under the current conditions. And they're
Wait,
trying to recruit the
hold up
public
a
to get that
second.
done.
Let's get this straight. The government cannot make any changes or rewrite the Constitution unless the people give them that okay. That is why they're going around.
So that's right there to Andre's question, right? Andre,
But we got to be careful because remember,
right?
these guys have already gone to the House and empowered themselves and that committee with a mandate to rewrite the Constitution. That is what really they are.
Okay,
that
guys.
was just for the Constitution.
That's what that
right.
ECC law was
bill,
about.
Right?
Okay? And
This
they're trying to say
bill.
that supersedes the original Constitution, which is bogus and a lie.
Let me play this clip. Let me play this clip so the people can hear a part of what this bill is about and what it will do.
Listen, because of the time, and I know what you're giving is valuable, but I want you to, I know you don't want to comment because you haven't seen the bill. Yeah. But just based on what we've given you so far, you could understand defamatory protection of all of these other officers. I mean, police, Coast Guard, school teacher. You can't go in a classroom and cuss out the teacher because the teacher give your student, your child an F or whatever. Yeah. I understand that. But I don't understand it for an elected representative within the culture of us cussing you when you're a politician anyway. Look here, let me put it in another jurisdiction. Man, you could call Joe Biden the half sleep. You could tell, you could say Trump here look like somebody, he's one of the most simple man you've ever, you could, what was this comedian Bill Maher? You could say his father is a gorilla. I mean, you got a level of freedom of expression.
Trump recently.
That I mean, I not totally think it ought to be total open packet. But I could not understand what that attorney, I couldn't completely understand that attorney is basically saying that if they hear you on this show in a closed environment saying things that they consider defamatory, even though it might be a part of a commercial, which
it's
is
not commercial, it's not in a closed quarter. There is a big distinction.
But suppose I start mentioning, suppose
let's
I start mentioning what is in the commercial.
What's in the commercial? You
Yes.
mention it on the air?
Yes,
You are publicizing it?
yes, that's what I'm
You
saying.
can't-
And so
you can't
therefore, even if
publicize-
it's in the commercial,
Yeah.
which is freedom, if I mention it here, I'm indictable.
Yeah, because you are publicizing a defamatory statement.
But it is already being publicized
Well, they
in
can
the
be
commercial.
sued too. Yeah, but the commercial
everybody
don't
will
give you
catch.
protection.
I see.
The commercial don't
All
give
right,
you
so
protection.
we'll give you time to make you read the bill and consider
And then we
it,
come back with the
hopefully you
say.
will come back.
Why it
No,
has
no,
to
no,
be-
no, 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 no.
Why it has to
We'll
be-
do a break because we still
No, I
have.
said no.
Why
I
it
said
has to
hopefully
be
you come
being,
back
why
and
it has
discuss
to
it.
get another lawyer come make
There you go, gentlemen. How they bamboozles to get what they want, you know. So sad. Making all these unconstitutional laws, right? All in the name of suppressing certain ethnicity, certain people in the country, right? So there you go, guys. We have to be very careful what we say now.
That's not true. That's not
I'm
true.
just saying.
It's an attempt to intimidate and to cause people to become fearful
Yeah.
and then not exercise their rights, their constitutional rights. I'm about to read it to you right here now. Talk for another couple of seconds, make I just make this thing, or
Yes.
maybe make us go ahead and read it then. Make I read it. These people are a bunch of rascals, man. Okay. Section 12 of the Constitution under Part 3, Part 3, Part 2. Anyhow. Subsection 1 reads as follows: except with his own consent or the consent of the person, okay? Except with the own consent of any person or any individual, a person shall not be hindered in the enjoyment of his freedom of expressions, including freedom to hold opinions without interference, freedom to receive ideas and information without interference from the government or any government officials, freedom to communicate ideas and information without interference, whether the communication be to the public in general, as we are doing and we always do, which is why I'm telling you that we then try to address or then try to get out there, but they have to jump over this threshold here from the Constitution. But they have no respect for the Constitution. So they are trying to make one law that is unconstitutional and say, because they make it and they have authority to make law, that law overrides the Constitution, and therefore that law we have to get judged by, and then one get the satisfaction to make we the complain about for them bad deeds, and make we get intimidated and stop complaining about for them bad deeds, and therefore they want to victimize we again. Then they victimize we with their bad deeds, and because we complain, they turn around and victimize we, go send we to jail.
Yeah.
That's all the idiots they try to do. But when they come here, then they deal with a Berlin Wall. Because like I said, I want to hang the Constitution around their head and their neck. And when they mess with me and try to sue me, I will counter sue them for their own pocket money, not government money, because I will counter sue them as individuals.
Can we continue read it?
Yeah, I'm just about. Give me a second. Okay. Whether the communication be to the public in general or generally, or to any person or class of persons, and freedom from interference with his correspondence, or freedom from interference with them messing around with our transmission, okay, which amounts to the same as correspondence, when they communicate between each other either by correspondence, right? Because in olden days they never had these kind of means of communication that we have in modern era, but it comes under the same category. Section 2. I don't even need to read that. Section 1 is good enough, and it's one of the bases on which most of these libel laws are struck down.
I wanted you to read the section below what you just read. The section below what you just read says, what is freedom from government interference?
That would be what section? That is still within 12, right? Because
Right.
12 don't have too much. Let me read the whole
right
thing.
below
Just
12.
Let me go ahead and read it.
Just read right below 12. Because what is below 12 is why they want to pass this bill. And it corresponds right within what we are doing. Let me go ahead and bring it up. And let me do it.
Go ahead. I have it here, though.
What is freedom from government interference? The right to freedom of speech allows individuals to express themselves without government interference or regulation.
Exactly.
The Supreme Court requires that the government to provide substantial justification for interference with the right of free speech when it attempts to regulate the content of the speech.
Exactly. So then they back up against the wrong
have it for
when they
yourself.
come in of redirection.
So
And
there
they're
you have it
agreeing
for
about that.
yourself,
So they
gentlemen.
don't want to abide by the present constitution and what the present constitution says. They want to create a new law that will say what they want, to cover what they want, to victimize us further than the victimization that they are currently doing to us, for which we are currently complaining.
Exactly.
Bunch of jackals, man.
And you know what makes it so bad?
They're trying to get cute.
This bill is in violation of
It's gonna get challenged.
Article 11 of the European
Right.
Convention on Human Rights. Okay?
We have that. You have it right there
They
available.
cannot violate that.
Greg, you want to read on
Yes,
the part of that for the public consumption? You have it available?
Well,
I have it on my phone. I have it on my phone, on the other phone.
Right.
But
Article
yeah, taking a while to find it.
11 of the European Article 11 of the European and Human Rights aligns exactly with our Constitution and the freedom of expression, which give you the right to talk what you want to talk about the government, which give you the right to have conversation with any other individual and all that. But what we were doing tonight, and
Greg, I could read on the part of it if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Or I want to read on the part of it, you know, just let me see if I could. Human rights concerns over breach of the peace. Breach of the peace has a potential to conflict with the European Convention on Human Rights and Fundamental Freedoms of 1950, including Article 5, 10, and 11, which protects the rights to liberty and security, freedom of expressions and assembly and association, respectively. Due to the loosely defined nature of breach of the peace and the wide powers afforded to those who intend to stop or prevent a breach, any use of the powers are closely examined by the courts to ensure there has been no undue interference with human rights. What is Article 5 of the European Convention of Human Rights Bill of 1950? It goes on to explain. Everyone who is deprived of his liberty by errors or detention shall be entitled to take proceedings, that is to say, court or lawsuit, by which the lawfulness of his detention shall be decided speedily by a court, and his release ordered if the detention is not lawful. And that is Article 5. What is Article 10 of the European Convention on Human Rights of 1950? Article 10(1) reads as follows: everyone has the right to freedom of expression. This right shall include freedom to hold opinions and to exercise and impart information and ideas, as we are currently doing and have been doing before, without interference by public authority and regardless of frontiers. That's because we're talking about the European Convention, no? Whereas our Constitution has the same things in there. We just read them,
It's
Pretty much.
it's aligned with it. But
Right.
let me say this. Let me say this. Why this is unconstitutional and inconsistent with the Constitution. You cannot take common assault and turn it into aggravated felony. An aggravated felony is if I hit you, I cut you. That
Do
is
physical damage.
aggravated.
Do
But
physical
you
damage to a
cannot
person.
charge me just by some words with not doing no bodily damage to you, not even, you see where I'm coming? Not
Yeah.
even assaulting you. And you
But-
want that to be aggravated. It's
What they're trying to
null
do is
and void. Cannot
exaggerate,
work.
because the law already specifies what is and what isn't. They're not satisfied with that. They don't believe in the Constitution. They don't
That's it
agree
right
with what the
there.
Constitution is doing. So they want to create for their own Constitution and do for their own thing.
That's it right
They're a
there.
bunch of scofflaws.
Yeah. That's it right there, guys.
And I don't care how much they want to get vexed with me, or how much they want to change the wordings in the Constitution. They could change it a million times. And as
Right.
far as I'm concerned, it will still be unconstitutional and illegal. And I will challenge them on that if they try to come to me with their craziness there.
And you know what is so bad? Even so, where they're talking about one private enclosure or ground,
Yeah.
that is in violation of Section 14(1) of the Constitution, which speak about your privacy in your home.
And
Exactly.
not to say they even go
No,
on to say that
imagine.
either that person could be that be close by, or they only could hear it.
Mhm.
They only could hear what you think,
Exactly.
or they're close by. What is
Exactly.
wrong with these guys?
And most of them are of the same
Yeah.
mindset, Most
What
of
is
them are
wrong
of the
with
same
these guys,
mindset.
man?
They're autocratic.
There you go.
They're
That's
dictatorial and
right
autocratic.
So, like you said,
I'm
Greg,
sorry.
they could just
You
pass
know-
by.
I'm sorry
And
that
yeah,
the
me say
country ever give
something.
them guys the chance to be government.
Right?
Mhm.
They could just pass by, and here
Right.
I say something about somebody, and
It's
they
so
could
weird.
gain access to my private,
You know
right?
how far them
Private,
body
I
to
mean,
try this thing?
in my private home. You know,
Then they say
very
they could pass
dangerous.
my here. But
Very
they are
dangerous.
they are depending on whether somebody else could come and tell them that somebody said something In other words, it depends on your result.
Exactly.
And according to Mr.
right
Young Musa, then you, as the person accused, have to prove that you're innocent. Idiot in the first order.
You know that is very that is so wrong what they're doing. It's so wrong, and like you say, you know, these people are one of the gross violators of our constitution.
Nobody have to call them idiot if they don't act like idiots.
Exactly. Right? They are the gross violators. They don't even respect the ruling of the courts. These guys here. Right? So what do you expect from them? Right? The court, some of these laws should be null and void.
But you know what is so cool about that bill?
They're still.
You know what is so cool about that bill? And I will let you continue. Everybody else, except the legal officers, the policeman, and elected officials, say in the course of their duty. So that means when it say elected official, that means night or day where he there, even he not a fine job, 24/7. You can't tell he nothing derogative because you could get 3 years. So
what is wrong with that?
It's a crazy piece of bill.
Anyway,
Mr. Weird, make I say this to you and Greg and the general public that are listening and will be listening to our program later on, right? Do you know that these gentlemen would like to have security for themselves, even when they leave office?
They'll pass that law soon. When they turn Belize into a republic.
The reason why they want to have immunity.
Excuse me, gentlemen.
Hereinafter. They're already elected and they want to immune themselves from any possible consequences to their wrongdoing.
Exactly.
And because I dare for telling that it's not going to end well with them as the Prime Minister himself, and it's not going to end well with his party, they're intimating or trying to pretend that they can take that statement of mine to court because that constitutes threatening them.
Exactly.
You understand where the man in the come from?
Exactly.
So either one of the one when they try make their laws to trip up or to silence me. And the man then failed to understand or have any idea what the hell they deal with in the first place. Because if they really knew what they were dealing with, they will try and come real strong. Instead of they come to try play games. Because the games when they try play, like I tell them over and over, I'm so far ahead. In the first instance, when I tell me in fact, I want to clarify for them right now a specific scenario that I'm talking about. It's not going to end well for the PUP party because a lot of people that I am aware of and that I have dealings with helped and supported the PUP party in a massive win the last time. Because of how they have been conducting themselves, they have lost our confidence. So we have no trust in them. And not only are we not going to vote for them, we are going to work against them. So his party will suffer the consequences of their misconduct and maladministration. Can they take me to court because I tell them that?
Gentlemen, we're over time.
Yeah. Far past time. We're in trouble. We got to close. We're in trouble. Yeah. We got probably about 1 minute or so more. They might even kick us off for the... They make it close the program. We could come back on next day.
Yes.
Come back another day. We'll flesh those out another day. Greg, you want to play our closing music after we make Mr. Wade do his closing remarks? Because me and him will talk most of the time, no? So just give him a couple minutes, make it close up. And I don't know if we really have it. They might just cut us off because we're there at 1:53,
I think
and we should have been there at 1:30.
just want to, thank our viewers both at home and abroad, and our supporters, want to thank them.
Right.
On
Go
that
ahead,
note, you want
Mr.
to
Wayne.
say good night. And again, I call on the people of the Twin Tongue, support Rudy Wade as an independent candidate in giving me your votes, right? For change, right? I am the only change. So
Thank you very much, Mr. Wade. We gotta go.
2024,
We gotta go, Greg.
support Rudy Wade as your independent candidate.
Run the music.
Mayor.
Run the music while the log off now. I need something to close off with. Great.